Thanks, Sarah, and thanks so much everyone for the presentations in our sessions so far today. So what I'm going to do in our session, look, when I used to have blonde hair, I dyed my hair blue in March, lockdown haircuts and all that, and it's just not left. So it's still blue, talking about rebels there, Fiona. Today's session, basically at the end of the day, we're all just cave people. What we really want to do is we want to get comfy, sit around a fire and just hear a story. So would it be okay, Megan, if you stop screen sharing and please get yourself a cup of tea, gather in and listen to my story today. I'm going to be telling you my story of presentation work and some of the things I've been doing and how I've sort of progressed in being a presenter. Get all cozy and listen in. So at school, I was the shy girl. And when I say I was the shy girl, I knew all the answers to all of the questions that the teachers would ask, but I would sit there in silence. I'd never, ever put my hand up, ever. I'd prefer to wet myself sat in my chair than I would to put my hand up to ask to go to the toilet, for instance. And I was also really quiet with my friends as well. I barely spoke to my friends. I'm sure Angela's personality test, you can sort of see where I sit in that grid. I was super shy. It really doesn't help that I have the type of face that whenever anyone even says my name, I go bright red like a tomato. Nobody wants that, especially if you're a shy person. It's just really embarrassing. I was really, really shy at school. I got a bit better at college and a bit better at uni. Not entirely sure why. I'm pretty sure it's just because I became of the legal age to drink alcohol. I didn't really progress all that much. I was still quite a shy person. And then after university, I got my first real life adult job at Anglian Water. But I was still the exact same shy person as I'd always been. I would sit there in these team meetings, and these team meetings could last almost a day. And I would sit there and I wouldn't have any idea of what was going on. I would just write down all the abbreviations that people had been saying in the meetings, write them all down in my notebook. And then after the meeting had finished, I'd go away to my computer and Google them all, search them all on the system to try and find out what the meeting had actually been about that I'd just been in. I was just too scared to put my hand up in the meeting and be like, what is that we're talking about? Or, I've got a question, or wait, I know the answer to this. I would never, ever even think of putting my hand up in that team meeting or expressing my view or anything along those sort of lines. That was the epitome of terror for me. Then I had the opportunity, because everyone else in my team was going along to it, to go to the International Water Association Young Water Professional Conference. It was my first ever conference I had attended before. And I sat there in the audience and I was looking up, and there were these people called PhD students, and they were stood there on stage in front of hundreds of people with these microphones on, and they were just there talking about their research. And I'd never seen anything so amazing. These people were similar in age to me. They were the same age as me, and they were here talking about this international groundbreaking work they were doing. And most of all, they weren't blushing. They were striding across the stage, and I was like, wow, that is amazing. Can you imagine being one of these people and being on stage in front of all these people and giving one of those talks? I'd really got my heart set on it. I was like, wow, I really want to be one of them. So I went to my line manager at the time, and I said oh, I'd love to be this. I'd love to do this. And a few job roles later, and I found myself, he got me the position, and I was doing my PhD with Anglian Water and the University of Sheffield. And I was so excited to start. And then about 3 months into it, I realized I'm not a groundbreaking speaker. I'm not here on stage. All I'm doing is I'm sat in the office and I'm quietly doing my work, same as I normally do. I thought, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna, being this PhD is not the end. You have to work to get there. It's not just magically going to happen because I am one now. So what I decided to do is I went on some training courses, mostly with the University of Sheffield, and I learned all of these things. I learned about the rule of 3. I learned about rhetorical questions, using no more than 5 words per slide and just having images, all these kind of techniques that great presenters use. And I tried my best to apply them. So I had these steering group meetings, like stakeholder engagement meetings, like what Claire was talking about earlier. And they were full of these really important people. Head of water quality, Claire Dunn, in my meeting, listening to me go on about what I do on a day-to-day basis. Absolutely terrifying they were, every 3 months. And at the beginning of my PhD, when I was like trying to apply all these new techniques that I'd learned, it went down like an absolute lead balloon. I am not lying to you. It was awful. I was being really formal. I was following everything that I should do. I was like reading. I was trying my best to not read off the slides, but I would spend so long preparing and agonizing over what it was that I was going to be saying in these meetings. And it was awful. But yeah, it's so terrible. I just went round really bad. And I started looking around for inspiration about how can I make this better. And so I'm a first generation person to go to university in my family. I'm the oldest of 4 to a single parent family. I'd never even heard of like a PhD or what a PhD is until I started at Anglian Water after I graduated uni as an undergrad. I didn't have that many experiences of conferences. I'd only been to the one conference, you know what I mean? So I didn't have that many people in my life who I was like, oh, that person is an inspirational speaker. But what I did have, an experience that we all have with us today on the call, is my school teachers. And I thought back to school and I thought back, like, who were my favorite teachers and why did I love them so much? And I specifically remember Mr. Brown, who taught me maths. And he always tells this story whenever you get your calculators off, like out of your bag, of like this calculator that he bought like 100 years ago or something that was the size of an entire room and cost him a small fortune. I remember about Mr. Wood, who taught me chemistry and told us the exact way to and to not dispose of a body if you murder someone. And these are the teachers that really resonate in my mind. Like when I think back to presenters that I love, they're the ones going off on the tangents. They're the one telling you about their calculator from 100 years ago, you know, and that's where I got my source of inspiration. So I looked in on myself and I was like, what am I like when I'm a person? When I'm talking on a one-to-one basis, I'm having these really familiar, normal chats like everyone does. Who am I as a person? And it turns out that I'm not super formal. And that's probably why the formal way of presenting really wasn't working for me. I like to add in jokes all the time. So if I try and be super serious, it just doesn't work. That's just not who I am as a person. I'm informal, I'm chatty. So that's what I tend to present like, just because that's who I am. And I think the truer you are to who you are when you're presenting, the better it comes across and the more like a human being you seem as well. So now what I do when I'm presenting, I don't write a script. I find that I have a rough idea of what I want to do. If I want to practice, I'll practice one run through. Now that might be terrifying to some people, but that's what I do. I just do one run through because I find that the more rehearsed it is, the less natural it is. And then I'm not going on tangents. I'm not throwing in the odd joke here and there. It's just very forced. So nowadays, I've just learned techniques that really work for me as a person. Like if I was having a chat with you on a one-to-one basis, I definitely wouldn't rehearse that chat. So that just doesn't work for me. And I think it's about knowing yourself, but it's also about experience as well. So basically, I hate past me. I see an opportunity, whether that's someone's emailed me, I see something on social media, I apply for it immediately. I don't think. The more you think about it, the more doubts will come in, and imposter syndrome or phenomenon from Shauna's talk earlier this morning, it sets in. No, instead I just see an opportunity, I apply and I say yes immediately. And then it comes like a month or two later and it's the day. Say for instance, today is the day that I've got the talk. And you're like, God, I hate past me. Why has past me signed me up to do this ridiculous talk? Like, why have I done this? I've not prepared. Don't know what I'm doing. Why have they chosen me? But, you know, you're there. It's the day. Time will pass. You will present at the event, whether you like it or not. And actually, future me is very apologetic and says, oh, I'm so sorry for being so nasty at you, past you. You know, I'm really glad that we've done this today. I really appreciate it. So, for instance, one example of this is it was the first year of my PhD. I was scrolling on Twitter, as you do, and I saw an opportunity for UK-based researchers to go over to Mexico to talk to them about climate change and water. So, of course, I just saw it and I signed up for it and I didn't think anything of it. A few months later, I found myself on a plane flying to Mexico to give a talk. Absolutely ridiculous. It was completely fully funded. I'd never been on a plane by myself before. I'd never been anywhere like Mexico before. And yet I was flying to the other side of the world. And it just felt like I was living someone else's life. So it actually got to the day of the talk. And I had a microphone on and I was speaking. And while I was speaking, it was being live translated into Spanish. And I was just, I can't even listen to myself speak. So luckily I don't know any Spanish. All I can say is, can I have a large glass of white wine, please? So, you know, that wasn't too confusing, but still, like, I just couldn't believe that it was just me. Like, why would they want me? Absolutely amazing. And since then, I've applied for all sorts of opportunities. And I'm not just talking, you know, conferences and that kind of thing, but literally everything you can think of. I've done this thing called Pint of Science, where in your local pub, you go and you give a talk and people are just there drinking pints. Now, that was terrifying. I thought someone's going to throw their beer over me. They're going to throw roasted nuts at my head. But actually, people were really interested in what I had to say, and they really cared about how it related to them, and, you know, finding out how to find lead pipes in their houses. They were so excited and so interested, and it was amazing. Another thing that really scared me is I did a couple of school assemblies in front of teenagers. So that was terrifying. My little brother is 16 years old, and I was just imagining a whole room full of Jason Rees, and it was terrifying, I'm telling you. But no one jeered at me. Even if they had, you know, I got through it. But no, it was absolutely fine. They're all really well dressed, very polite, and a great experience. So one thing I get asked quite a bit when people come to me after conferences and presentations and stuff, they say, does it get easier? Does presenting get easier? Do the nerves ever go away? I watched a documentary recently by Rod Gilbert, the Welsh comedian. I absolutely love him. He actually has social anxiety. So he goes up on stage in front of hundreds of people and makes them all like proper belly laugh with enjoyment. But if you put him in a situation where he's got to go into a cafe and order coffee and cake, he cannot do it. He's stuttering, he's mumbling, he'll do anything he can to avoid. He'd rather just go to the coffee shop, get someone else to order, just not order at all and just leave, than order something in there. And I think I really liked his story because it shows that you can be shy, you can be introverted, but that shouldn't hold you back. If you want to go up on stage and you want to present your research with enthusiasm and passion, you can, and you can be a shy person. You just need to find out, I think, what works best for you as a person when you're presenting to make you feel the most comfortable you can feel. So now when I'm in a team meeting, and I go to these team meetings, I sit there and I'm like, oh God, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. But I'm thinking in my head, you know, you have presented a talk in Mexico and being live translated to Spanish. You've spoken internationally. You've won these prizes. You can put your hand up and you can ask that question. You can do this. You can got that. You got this. And that's why I think experience is so important with presenting. It's not about making you better as a presenter or improving how you present. It's all about lending you the confidence to be able to look back on those past experiences and be like, yeah, I got this. I can do this. Look at what I've achieved already. I can definitely do this. So, fellow cave people, thank you very much for gathering around the fire with me and hearing my story and my journey into presenting. Thanks very much.